Hello and welcome to this episode on the Windy City Scouser channel. I hope your weekend went a lot better than mine. Watching another Liverpool disappointing match against Bournemouth. They played well. They played solid. They used their physicality, their height to their advantage. They kept Liverpool out of it tactically, emotionally, with their mindset. So it's as much of a game that Bournemouth won than a game that Liverpool lost. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's used to describe a team that, or situations where a team that has all the cards and has all the ability to perhaps get a win, just lets themselves down and hands the other team a win and themselves a loss. But this was not the case. It was Bournemouth's drive, their emotion, their hunger, as well as Liverpool's lack of all of those. And Trent Alexander-Arnold actually mentioned that in his post-match interview. And I agree with him. And that is both a mixture of Jurgen Klopp and his side selection, as well as the team and their fatigue and their mindset and their mental fragility. But we'll get into that. What we'll be talking about today is a little bit of the Bournemouth reaction, moving on to Real Madrid and a preview, as well as some transfer rumors or transfer news, and a little bit of an analysis of what is glaringly obvious with our midfield and how it compares to successful clubs in the past. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with our age, and we already know that has come into huge question. We saw Billing dominate him in the air, on the ground. Harvey Elliott just had an overall poor day, and it sucks because he's one of the players that's been featured in, I believe, almost every match this season. So we complain about a lack of availability from our midfielders, and now we have to talk about just the overall performance of Harvey Elliott. He can't do anything about being 5'7", so obviously that's not his fault. But Jurgen, I believe, could have leaned on his bench a little more during the match, and perhaps sat Mo, sat Darwin, give Cody a few more reps, and then bring on Fabio Carvalho around the 60-minute mark, but he didn't. He kind of just tries to ride with the same players, expecting that they'll play themselves into form, but you cannot play yourself into hunger, all right? If they're constantly being fed minutes and given the game time despite their performances, then they're going to get used to it. They don't have to put on a stellar show in order to play the next match. Whereas the guys who are sitting on the bench, they're busting their asses, and some of them haven't seen the pitch in months. So for games like this past weekend against Bournemouth, Jurgen really, really needs to look at his bench and look at the quality and create better rotations in order to create that hunger, to develop it over the course of each week. The same players, they're going to go stale. It happens to everyone. Players are responsible for their own drive, but the manager is also responsible for managing each person and keeping that team chemistry at a certain level. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but looking at this lineup, I would have personally gone with Firmino up front and Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right to start, but then taking him off around the 60th minute. I would have gone Fab, Bajcetic, and Milner. Apparently, Jordan Henderson was sick that day. But that would have brought a little more composure to the midfield, and we really played down to Bournemouth's level, and that's not I should rephrase that. We didn't play down to their level. We played the game that they wanted, and it's not the game that obviously suits us. So Milner, Fab, and Bajcetic, with Fab and Milner creating that sense of composure, maturity, knowing that this is a game that it's going to be a grind, but you need to do your job and do it well, and not get lost in the emotion or let that mental fragility take over. I also would have started Tsimikas, gone with Virgil, Konate, and then Trent. And then once, again, the 60th minute came in, switch Milner to right back, put Jordan in for where Milner would have gone, and put Carvalho on the wing for Gakpo. And perhaps a few minor changes to that, but overall that's the game plan I would have gone with. Being complete expert that I am behind my desk a couple days later. Let's have a look at Real Madrid and how they are coming into this match against Liverpool, or Liverpool going to the Bernabeu. So we are going into the match, but let's look at their performance of late. The biggest thing that I see here is, let me take a step back, because I hear that people are saying Real Madrid are having an off season. They're not performing to their best, but looking at the results, even in this quick glance and the rest of the season, they win the matches that they should for the most part. And that's not something that we can say about Liverpool. And that comes down to a level of maturity, belief, hope, excitement, and whether that's produced by the fans, by the manager, by the players themselves, who knows? But right now, Real Madrid have it, and we do not. And we need to find it soon, or else we're going to fall out of the top 4, perhaps even the top 5. And next year is going to be looking very grim. Next quick point that I want to make. If you look back at our last match against Real Madrid, David Alaba actually went off pretty early with an injury. And I believe Nacho came on from it and then had a blast of a game, which could have led to our downfall. I think Liverpool took their foot off the gas a bit and allowed Real Madrid to take over. But that also shows you the will of Real Madrid. But David Alaba is not set to play in this second leg. If that's an advantage, I don't know. But it's something to keep an eye on. And reports are also that Karim Benzema will be available for the match, which is never good for opposing sides. But we'll see. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about transfer rumors that are swirling the news outlets right now. First, I heard on a YouTube channel, I like to see what the enemy's up to, but City Extra is a Manchester City channel. Guys put out great content. It's really interesting and entertaining. Obviously not a Man City fan, but got to keep an eye out. And apparently, Manchester City have made an offer of £125 million for Jude. Let's see if that goes anywhere. Also, a media outlet in Spain, let me find it really quick. FutbolEspaña.net has apparently reported that Real Madrid have made official contact with Jude Bellingham to discuss a potential transfer. Again, I don't believe that anything is going to be confirmed by Jude and his party until after the international break. And I don't even think that that's going to be, the day after the break happens. But as it gets closer to the end of the season, he will make his plans known, especially as the title race in the Bundesliga becomes a little more apparent. He doesn't want to distract his team, the news, in a similar fashion that Haaland's announcement did, where it kind of we already know that the rumors during the season consumed Borussia Dortmund, and I think Jude is a little more conscious of that. I don't think that he is the type to want to go to Manchester City, because Pep, he's very strict in his system, and Jude, he plays a little more like his idol, Stevie Gerrard, where he wants the freedom to make an impact on the pitch wherever. Real Madrid, they have the name, they have the history, they have the aura, the glamour, but he wants to leave a strong legacy. And yes, if he joins Real Madrid, he will go down as another amazing player on another amazing Real Madrid team. But will he be able to make the name that he wants to? And I don't know if that'll be possible with Real Madrid. Next on the docket, Josko Gvardiol. Josko is a 6'1" center back who plays for RB Leipzig. He's estimated to be worth around 70 to 80 million euros and has been heavily linked with Liverpool. And he's mentioned that Liverpool is his childhood club that he would follow with his dad and would love a move to the team. If Liverpool are going to make a bid for Jude Bellingham and Gvardiol, say we do get those two players, then that doesn't leave a lot of money for more midfield help. But someone else on the radar of Liverpool is Jude Bellingham, who plays for Fulham, and he will be nowhere near as expensive as Gvardiol, but looking at it, it's hard to determine what that reality is going to look like. João is 27 years old and obviously not getting any younger. And what we've experienced with Liverpool is our midfield has gotten old too quick together. But say we do get Jude and we have a midfield of, Jude, Bajcetic, and Harvey Elliott, balanced out with Fab, Thiago, and Palhinha, as well as Henderson. So there are different combinations that will give the maturity and experience to level out the young talent that would hopefully shape Liverpool's future, but is yet to be seen. Mateus Nunes, I believe, is a couple years younger, and for that reason might be a better target. But who knows where he wants to go, if he wants to stay with Wolves, if Liverpool will even make an offer for him after this season. We'll see. The last segment we're going to discuss is the trend in ages of the top teams across the top clubs around the major leagues in the world. So that wasn't very articulate at all. But what I wanted to find out was, is it truly the age of our players that's the issue, particularly in the midfield? Because when I did a little digging, I chose 10 teams, and I'm going to throw their logos up in a minute. And the question I wanted to answer was, what was the average age of the midfielders of the team? And what I found out was, taking the top 3 midfielders of each of these teams and finding their average age, all of them had around an average age of 26. Specifically, 26.75 was the average age of all 10 teams and all three of their midfielders for each of those teams, the top three played midfielders, all had an average age of about 26, 27. So looking at that, I took a step back and I said, okay, so does that make sense that age is really the problem with Liverpool? So I took it a step further and I said, well, what's the range of each of these teams? What's the average range of the players who are in the midfield? So the range would be the difference between the smallest age and the largest age, the smallest number and the biggest number. And after looking at that, the average range was 8.8 years. So there was, on average, a difference about 9 years from the youngest player to the oldest. Liverpool, our top three played players right now in the midfield, so our guys with the most minutes, are Fabinho, Harvey Elliott, and Thiago. And Thiago we haven't even seen for quite some time. So just in those three, the range is 13 years. Now, say we want to take a step back and replace Thiago with Jordan Henderson. Even then, we're still looking at, we're actually looking at 14 years because Jordan is a year older than Thiago. Or maybe he's just turned 32 before Thiago has by a couple months. But it looks like, one, we can say that the optimal average of age of our midfield should be in that 26-year range. But now we know that there should not really be more than a 10-year, giving a little boost, more than a 10-year difference between the youngest player and the oldest. That shows the clear sign of an imbalance. And we knew that we needed to revamp our midfield this past summer. Klopp or FSG or Julian Ward, they thought that maybe we could survive another year with the current midfield, but that's not been the case. And I thought it was interesting because we can have the eye test and make these assumptions and make this analysis, but looking into the numbers, it tells an even deeper story that confirms that our midfield is just too old. And now, how are we going to take this information and use it for future years so that we don't run into this same issue again and better plan moving forward? So just want to thank you for watching today's show, and I hope you got something out of it. If you have, go ahead and like and subscribe, share, or don't. Who knows? Regardless, appreciate you, appreciate your time, and I will see you at the next show.